Welcome to Hub City TV, a USM student news magazine production. We're your source to what's happening around the Pine Belt. I'm your host, Jamie Waldrop. In this week's show, the popular health craze known as juicing may not be as nutritious as you think. Military budget cuts hit close to home, and WUSM Radio prepares for its big fundraising event. But first, recently, President Obama signed an executive order to raise the minimum wage for federal contract workers to $10.10. The increase could benefit as many as 500,000 workers employed as federal contractors, including janitors and construction workers on federal sites, as well as military-based workers. The pay raise will occur as federal contracts come up for renewal, and Obama hopes it will lead to an increase for all minimum wage workers. However, not everyone is on board for the increase. In our first story, reporter Christy Shelley talks with local business owners who are conflicted.
Recently, President Obama raised the federal minimum wage, hoping business owners would do the same. Some business owners, however, say it could cause harsh consequences or loss of jobs. Small business owner Tosh Stewart says raising minimum wage could hurt his business's potential.
I think it'd be a little bit of a drawback. Pretty much if you're charging or you're paying $8 an hour for an employee, for every 5 employees that you could have hired, you can only hire 4 now.
Stewart, however, realizes why some people favor the raise.
I have a lot of family members who work minimum wage, so that increase will help to increase their standard of living.
How are you?
Some small business owners, like April Bullock of Eve Marie's, feel conflicted.
I only have about 15 employees. I feel like it won't affect me as much as it will like the big corporate who have thousands of employees.
Despite having few employees, Bullock says a wage increase could cause her to possibly raise her prices or downsize her staff.
You know, in slower times, we may have to cut back hours, because that is going to affect us pretty large.
The raise increases pay by $2.85 more an hour. Raising minimum wage is not currently on the Mississippi legislature's docket. For Hub City TV, I'm Christy Shelley.
In our next story, I talk with workers to see if the current minimum wage of $7.25 an hour is a livable wage. Gone are the days where minimum wage jobs were mostly held by teenagers looking to make some quick money. In fact, according to the National Employment Law Project, the average age of fast food workers is 29. Beyond that, these employees are often supporting more than just themselves. For Joshua Forrest, who is getting married in May, one minimum wage job simply isn't enough.
I would have to work a minimum wage job, full time, and I would not even be able to provide for myself. So we're having to go and look and make sure that both of our jobs, in combination with both of our schooling, with all of that it's all feasible.
For minimum wage employees in Mississippi, an hour will get you $7.25. The monthly expenses of someone living in Mississippi are about $1,400, and that's with no loan payments, no insurance, and no miscellaneous spending whatsoever. However, a full-time minimum wage employee only earns a little over $1,100 a month. On February 12th, President Obama signed an executive order to raise the minimum wage for federal contract workers to $10.10, a move that he hopes will lead to Congress passing a bill to raise the minimum wage at the federal level. However, not everyone supports this plan.
I think that the proposed increase might be a little bit too much, just because it might stifle businesses' abilities to pay their employees and keep everyone on the payroll. Businesses would just lose money.
With more than 46 million Americans now living below the poverty line, the minimum wage debate is sure to continue. Various military budget cuts hit close to home for some military personnel at Camp Shelby. The reduced military budget will force bases like Camp Shelby to downsize. This may result in job cuts. USM's ROTC also faces similar consequences as it is technically part of the U.S. military. There's more to military life than preparing for battle. In our next story, Hub City TV reporter Alea Benjamin visits the Marine Corps Support Facility Center in New Orleans.
One of my best friends, we had always wanted to be Marines, and we did a lot of young cadets and JROTC programs and things like that.
Today, we are at Algiers taking a look on a military base and inside the life of a Marine.
Work, I know that I'm personally vested in every single person that I see, knowing that I would fight and die with them, that it's part of the agreement.
While the term military often makes the average person think of war and combat, here are a few of our soldiers' favorite things about being soldiers.
I would say the first is definitely new experiences. There's not a whole lot of professions in the world that you can go out and just be told you're doing something new.
Belong to an organization and doing something much bigger than I am. I mean, we have a mission that's global. It has global ramification.
It's a very structured environment, and for certain folks who need structure in their lives, we excel in environments like this.
Lastly, we have some advice for those of you considering a career in the military field.
Be open-minded, stay coachable and teachable. You may come out of boot camp thinking that you know everything because you memorized all your knowledge. That's not always the case.
Don't take anything for granted. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. Don't put off today. Don't put off anything.
With Hub City TV, I'm Alea Benjamin.
Stay tuned for our health segment coming up after the break.